Alright guys, Forsaken just revealed way more than we thought, including Azure's new ability, special LMS effects, a potential Noli rework, and a ton of other changes coming this Friday. Let's get into it! There are still a lot of new things being revealed for Azure's arrival, and we recently got another sneak peek of one of Azure's newest abilities. Forsaken have jokingly started called it Dash Slop, and after seeing it in action, it definitely looks like one of the more unique abilities Forsaken has added in a while. With this move, Azure is able to grab survivors using his tentacles and launch them directly towards his giant plant. Once the survivor reaches the plant, it will eat them and likely apply some sort of damage or status effect. What makes this ability so interesting is that it's the first time we've seen a killer physically control where a survivor goes after being captured. This could potentially lead to some really interesting combos and setups, especially when players start learning the best ways to position survivors. The animation itself currently looks fairly basic, but since Azure is still in development, we'll probably see a much more polished version before release. One concern many players have already pointed out is how difficult this ability might be to use on laptops or touchscreens. Since the move appears to be cursor-based, aiming and throwing survivors accurately could be frustrating without a mouse. We also got our first proper look at new LMS effects featuring LMS portraits for both survivors and killers, with each one receiving their own unique version. On the killer side, whenever it is LMS, the portrait will appear alongside the message "Have fun," showing the survivor you are facing. Meanwhile, survivors will receive a good luck message and a portrait of the killer they are up against. These effects can thankfully be disabled if players prefer a cleaner screen. Interestingly, the portrait of Cool Kid we saw previously was actually his LMS version, and that Endoran has thought about giving an LMS portrait to only Bloated that will be the only skin to get this if it does happen. Also, we finally got a full showcase of the new Azure-themed lobby. The graveyards are still present, but Azure plants have begun spreading throughout the map. The basement appears to have received some changes, while the beach area has been partially blocked off. We can also see a brand new building featuring the Spawn logo, which is likely connected to Azure and the Spawn cult. There's even a possibility that a new Spawn cult NPC could be waiting inside. Alongside these larger additions, several smaller changes have also been spotted. Dracobloxer has been turned purple. Most NPCs now feature custom idle animations. Each NPC has random pool of 5 idle animations to choose from, and the Some Random Guy NPC has officially been removed. Overall, that is a huge amount of content arriving this Friday, and Azure's arrival is shaping up to be one of Forsaken's biggest updates yet. Are you excited for the update? There was also a feature shown off recently that started off as a joke, but has quickly turned into something many players actually want to see added to the game. The idea revolves around Noli and one of his abilities. Endoran showed Noli using his M1 against Guest, but creating a fake animation that baited Guest into wasting his block ability. Forsaken News decided to do a poll asking players whether this should actually become a real feature. And surprisingly, a large number of people voted yes. Many fans believe it would fit Noli's character perfectly. Since Noli is known for being a trickster, having the ability to fake out opponents seems like a natural extension of his playstyle. Others simply think it would be hilarious to watch guest players waste their block because they got tricked by a fake attack animation. Some players have also argued that Guest's rework have made him one of the strongest sentinels in the game, meaning having a counterplay option isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, not everyone is convinced. One of the biggest criticisms is that the feature appears to exist almost entirely to counter a single survivor. Many players are questioning why Noli would receive a mechanic specifically designed to punish guests, rather than receiving a larger rework that benefits him across all matchups. Others have pointed out that if the feature were added, it shouldn't be limited to guests alone. Instead, they believe it could potentially work against other survivors by baiting out their abilities as well. There are also questions about how useful it would actually be in practice. Others think the concept would be far more interesting. It was tied to Void Rush or another ability rather than being attached to a basic M1 attack. Should Forsaken actually add this mechanic to Noli? Nobody was really expecting Forsaken to take milestone skins even further, yet Chance received the full skin while Time was given the Nightshade skin. Ever since then, players have been trying to figure out what these skins actually represent. One of the most popular theories is that Milestone 5 skins are designed around a character's canonical death or final moments. Instead of simply being another cosmetic, they could represent what the character looked like when their story came to an end. Many fans think this would be a much more interesting direction than simply giving characters random milestone rewards. Chance is one of the biggest examples people point to. According to the lore, he was stabbed by a trap using the Dark Heart, which eventually led to his death. Because of that, players believe the full skin is meant to represent Chance during those final moments. If that's the case, many fans want Forsaken to continue this theme with future Milestone 5 skins. Some have even suggested characters like Shedletsky could receive a Milestone 5 skin based on Telemann. Considering the connections already seen through characters like Swordsmaster, many believe it would fit perfectly as a darker version of Shedletsky's story and make Milestone skins feel much more meaningful. With this, Samuth recently created two Milestone 5 concepts based entirely around this theory. The first is a Guest 1337 skin that shows him during his death, with the Spectre corruption consuming his body. His left arm is engulfed in flames, parts of his face are burned away, and the corruption spreads with the skin having a similar design to his milestone for appearance. The second concept focuses on Elliot. In this version, Elliot has been completely overtaken by Kulkid's corruption. As we can see, his Kulgui is embedded into his body, and he barely resembles a normal person anymore. Instead, he looks like someone who has completely lost himself to Kulkid's hack. Even though these are only concepts, many players love the direction they take. This lore-based approach is something a lot of fans would love to see become official.
Are you serious right now, bro?
Even though Nosferatu is still one of the most disliked killers in Forsaken, that hasn't stopped people from creating some incredibly high-quality skin concepts for him. Over the past few months, we've seen more and more unique ideas appear, and some of them completely change how Nosferatu looks while still fitting his abilities surprisingly well. One of the most interesting concepts comes from Spilled Gravy, who created a skin called Beardall. The design takes inspiration from both Teddy Blockspin and Tails Doll, to characters that many Roblox players will recognize from the game Survive and Kill the Killers in Area 51. Tails Doll in particular is remembered for being a creepy floating killer, which is why many people immediately started connecting the concept to Nosferatu. At first, some players were confused by the choice. Out of all the killers in Forsaken, why would Beardo be designed for Nosferatu? However, the more people looked at it, the more it started to make sense. One of Tails Doll's most recognizable traits is its ability to float in the air, and Nosferatu is one of the few killers in Forsaken whose movement style could actually replicate that feeling. Because of that, many fans believe he is one of the best possible characters for the concept. Some even believe the idea has enough potential to become its own killer entirely rather than just being a cosmetic. Others have suggested that it could serve as a modern replacement for evil Teddy Blockspin, a character that was originally planned as a replacement for Sonic. XB for those plans seemingly disappeared. That has also led to discussions about whether Sonic X-inspired content should return to Forsaken in some form. Since there hasn't been much news regarding those ideas for a long time, many players see concepts like Bear Doll as a way of bringing some of Sonic X back into the game. While the chances of this exact skin being added anytime soon are fairly low, it has definitely become one of the more memorable Nosferatu concepts. Should this be a new killer or just a skin? So this update might be the biggest yet. What are you most excited for? Subscribe and hit the bell for more Forsakening it.